In the bustling city of Tokyo, millions of commuters pass through Shibuya Station every day. Amid the neon lights, crosswalk chaos, and chatter of daily life, there stands a bronze statue of a dog. To many, it's just a meeting point, but to Japan and to countless people around the world, it represents something far deeper: loyalty, devotion, and love that endured even beyond death. This is the story of Hachiko, the dog who waited. Setting the stage: Japan in the 1920s. The 1920s in Japan were a time of transition. The country was modernizing rapidly, blending Western influence with deep-rooted traditions. Trains symbolized progress, connecting rural towns to booming cities. And in this world of change, one humble Akita dog would leave an imprint that outlived empires and generations. Hachiko's early life. Hachiko was born in November 1923 in Odate, a snowy town in Japan's Akita prefecture. He was a purebred Akita, a breed known for strength, loyalty, and independence. But no one in Odate could have predicted that this small puppy would become the most famous dog in Japanese history. Soon after his birth, he was sent by train to Tokyo, where his fate awaited. Professor Ueno and Hachiko. Hachiko's new owner was Professor Ueno, a respected scholar of agriculture at Tokyo Imperial University. Ueno was a quiet, kind man who loved animals, and he quickly formed a deep bond with his new companion. He named the dog Hachi, meaning 8, considered a lucky number in Japan. The affectionate suffix -ko was added later, as the world came to know him as Hachiko. Every morning, Ueno and Hachiko walked together to Shibuya Station. The professor boarded his train to work, while Hachiko waited faithfully at the station entrance. In the evening, at precisely the same time, Hachiko returned to greet his master, wagging his tail with joy. This routine became a rhythm of their lives, a daily dance between man and dog. Tragedy strikes. On May 21, 1925, just 2 years into their companionship, tragedy struck. Professor Ueno collapsed suddenly during a lecture at the university. He had suffered a cerebral hemorrhage and died at the age of 53. He never returned to Shibuya Station. But Hachiko didn't understand death. That evening, as always, he appeared at the station, waiting for his master to come home. And again the next day. And the next. Days turned into weeks, then months. The dog returned at the same time every evening, sitting patiently, ears pricked, eyes searching the crowd. Ueno never came, yet Hachiko never gave up. A routine of devotion. For the next 9 years, Hachiko kept his vigil at Shibuya Station. Rain or shine, snow or heat, he sat in the same spot, watching the station doors. Commuters began to notice. Some recognized him as Professor Ueno's dog. Others simply saw a loyal animal waiting for someone who never arrived. At first, a few thought he was a nuisance. Station staff even tried to chase him away. But over time, their hearts softened. Vendors gave him food. Strangers patted his head. Hachiko became a fixture of Shibuya life, a silent guardian of loyalty. The public discovers Hachiko. Hachiko might have remained just a local curiosity, but in 1932, a newspaper article changed everything. A former student of Professor Ueno saw the dog at the station and wrote about his devotion. The story spread across Japan like wildfire. Newspapers described him as Chukin Hachiko, the faithful dog Hachiko. In a society that prized loyalty and duty, his story struck a deep cultural chord. Soon, people from all over Japan traveled to Shibuya just to see the dog who waited. Hachiko became a symbol of unwavering faith, reminding people of values they cherished: loyalty, perseverance, and love that endures. The statue and fame in life. In 1934, while Hachiko was still alive, a bronze statue was commissioned in his honor. Sculptor Teru Ando created it, and Hachiko himself was present at the unveiling ceremony. Imagine the scene. Thousands gathered at Shibuya Station, not to honor a politician or general, but a dog. It was a moment when the people of Japan celebrated not power, but devotion. Hachiko's final day. Hachiko continued his daily vigil until March 8, 1935. On that day, the faithful dog was found lying on the street near Shibuya Station. He had died peacefully at the age of 11. News of his passing spread across Japan, and people wept openly. Newspapers carried front-page tributes. Students, workers, and families came to Shibuya to lay flowers where he had sat for so many years. It felt as though the whole nation had lost a beloved friend. Legacy in Japan. Hachiko's story didn't end with his death. His body was preserved and placed on display at the National Museum of Nature and Science, where it remains to this day. His statue at Shibuya became a pilgrimage site, especially for lovers and couples who saw in him a symbol of loyalty. Even during World War II, when many bronze statues were melted down for weapons, Hachiko's was spared. After the war, a new statue was cast, and it still stands proudly today, a meeting spot for millions of Tokyo residents. Hachiko as a cultural symbol. Hachiko's story resonated because it echoed core Japanese values: loyalty to family, devotion to duty, and perseverance despite hardship are virtues celebrated in everything from samurai tales to modern life. In Hachiko, people saw these values embodied, not by a warrior, but by a humble dog. But his influence didn't stop in Japan. His story spread worldwide. Books, documentaries, and films retold his tale, including the 2009 Hollywood movie, Hachi, A Dog's Tale, starring Richard Gere. Across cultures, people recognize the universal message: love and loyalty transcend death. Why Hachiko matters in history. Why does a dog's devotion matter in history? Because history is more than battles and treaties. It's the values we choose to remember. Hachiko reminds us of the bonds between humans and animals, bonds as old as civilization itself. He became a symbol not only of loyalty, but of the deep emotional connections that shape our lives. In a world often driven by ambition and change, Hachiko's story whispers a simple truth: love endures. Even today, if you visit Shibuya Station, you'll find crowds gathered around his statue. Tourists snap photos. Locals say, "Let's meet at Hachiko." Few pause to think about what he represents, but the memory lives on. Nearly a century later, the dog who waited still waits, this time forever cast in bronze. Hachiko's life was short, but his story became timeless. Born in a snowy town, adopted by a professor, left alone by tragedy, yet never giving up hope, his journey is as human as it is canine. He wasn't a warrior, a politician, or a king. He was a dog. And yet, through his loyalty, he became greater than all of them. This was the story of Hachiko, the dog who waited. If you found this tale as moving as I did, make sure to subscribe, like, and ring the bell so you never miss the next story we unlock from history.